has a cantor on the program can't be all that bad.
Anybody who what?
Who has a cantor singing on your show can't be all bad.
What does that mean?
Oh, just a little joke. Listen, here's what I want to talk about. I listen to you all the time. I listen to Rush Limbaugh in my car all the time. And I'm constantly amazed at the numbers of calls that come in on a continuous basis, complaining about the liberal media, whatever that may be.
Well, I'll tell you what it is.
Can I just finish?
I'll tell you what it is. It's all the networks. It's the New York Times. It's the Washington Post. It's in this area, the New York Daily News. It's Newsday.
Of course.
It's the Star Ledger. It's the Bergen Record. It's the Woodbridge News Tribune.
Bob.
It's the Asbury Park Press. I could go on and on and on. I can't find a conservative publication in there outside of the New York Post.
Bob, can I ask you a question?
And the Post may have conservative editorials, but their coverage is anything but. Yeah,
Bob,
ask the question.
Can I finish my statement or my question? I don't know what the circulation of all those publications, those newspapers you just mentioned, but I would suspect that between you and Rush Limbaugh, who are on for approximately 35 hours a week, that the audience you probably reach and speak to every single day, I would guess is probably larger than the total circulation of all those publications you just mentioned.
Well,
so my point is, I don't understand how there can be a complaint by the public about the left-wing media filling them up with left-wing propaganda when you and Rush Limbaugh are
what are we, a team?
Hey,
what are we, a team? What are we, a team now? I mean, what am I, part of a team?
Team Schmee, whatever you guys are, you're following each other on the radio.
You know what, Hank? You're very ignorant if you think that these two radio programs in this area are going to generate more influence in the total spectrum of the media than the prestigious New York Times and all those other publications. I would like to be fake, phony, and fraudulent and say, yeah, you're right. We do have more coverage. I wish we did. I wish I did. What am I saying, we? I do the Bob Grant Show from 3 to 7. I'm not responsible for what anybody else does.
There was a nice gentleman who spoke to you just a couple
get
of
off my phone, for crying out loud, you jerk. There was a nice gentleman. I didn't like the way the guy opened up. How condescending. Anybody who has a cantor on can't be all bad. Who needs you, you fink?
Charlie, you know what I just heard?
Yes, Joe.
Hello, Bob. This is Joe from Lynbrook.
Yes, Joe.
I know you for 35 years back.
35 years?
Yes, and I thought you were an honorable...
I guess you knew me out on the West Coast then, huh?
Yeah, no. I knew you when I belonged to Italian American Professional...
Yeah, but I've only been out here 22 years, Joe.
Well, then that's when I'm talking
how do you know me 35 years?
Well, okay. I'm sorry. Bad judgment of time. But anyway...
You're getting excited, Joe. Don't get carried away. What's on your mind, Joe?
My mind is I'm an old man of 76.
What's on your mind besides the fact that you're 76?
Okay.
That was thrilling to hear, Joe.
Okay. I want to know how come President Bush or President Clinton or nobody from Republicans or Democrats talk about our senior citizens for Social Security increase.
You want another increase?
Well, I want an increase.
Hey, that's good. Give this guy another increase. I want them to take out more money from my paycheck.
Well, you're right.
Hey, Joe,
yes.
For you to get that money, they got to take money away from us guys who are working.
I understand that, but...
Oh, you don't mind, huh?
They took it away from me.
They took it away from you?
Yeah.
Hey, you're a spoiled brat. Get off my phone, Joe. John, you knew me 35 years. For crying out loud. This guy's trying to ruin my reputation. So pathetic that they meet with this guy.
Right.
Now, the Democrats had a long meeting with him earlier, and then they had a press conference, and Felix Rosen came out and kissed Ross Perot's tush, and Mickey Cantor came out and kissed Ross Perot's tush. Ross Perot's going to have a very sore, very chafed tush with all the guys kissing it, you know?
But Bob, it took your acumen to figure out that this guy...
Abdullah, you're on WABC. Hello.
Greetings, white brother. Remember last week you told me to go look in the mirror because this might be something wrong with my complexion? I looked in the mirror and I see how beautiful my black skin is.
What do you have in your mouth, by the way?
I have nothing in my mouth.
Well, why do you talk that way? Why can't you talk clearly? What is it?
I am talking
clearly. I look at myself and boy, I don't understand. What is that impediment you have?
What? I don't have no impediment. See, I looked in the mirror and see how beautiful I am, right?
And you have your clothes on?
Of course I am. Okay, this is what I'm saying. Y'all white people, see, now it's wintertime, right? So now y'all
It's wintertime already? Whatever happened to autumn?
It's coming. Y'all can't lay out there on the beach no more and fry y'all.
Hey, what is it you want? What do you want? Did you use a bad case of hair straightener? What'd you do wrong? He's laughing. Hey, get off my phone, for crying out loud. Jim, you're on WABC. Hello.
Brother, do not watch Larry King tonight if you have a weak stomach.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
But of course, if you love fish, you'll watch Larry King with all those close-ups of Larry. Paul, you're on WABC. Hello.
Bob, how are you? Listen, we really like listening to you in the afternoon here. I think you got a great program, but don't you think you're making Schwarzkopf sound like so fantastic? What's going on? I don't understand. You're really making it sound great.
I'm not making him sound fantastic. He is fantastic.
But it's like a computer war these days. You know, you go into a computer screen, you press a few buttons, you know.
Is it really, General? Is it really? I didn't know that I had a military expert.
Not a military expert, but you know.
Well, then why do you try to sound like one then?
No, not at all. Not at all, Bob.
Not at all. Okay. Get lost. You're insignificant, you fink.
I listened to the psychologist. I listened to what he had to say, and I listened to what you had to say, and I kind of felt that what you were going to say was going to be obviously predictable. Bottom line is, Bob, Mr. Grant, is that you're talking about psychological imbalance in black youth, or black and Latino youth, or whatever. But for some reason, you seem to gloss over the economic imbalance between people. 125th Street, Harlem looks nothing like Garden City, Long Island. Explain that to me. Why is it that, you're constantly talking about, oh, well, we need to look into other factors. You know something? I wouldn't even mind if they went into research about the psychological imbalance in black youth if they decided to put more money into the black community, do the things to put us on par with white people. But that won't happen because you won't discuss that. You'd rather discuss everything else except the bottom line. The bottom line is many black people do not live like white people. They just do not. And if you want to, I'm willing to accept.
Let me say this before you blow a blood vessel. You say many black people do not live like white people?
Yeah, you're going to bring up Michael Jordan. Not everybody lives like Michael Jordan.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to respond to you now. You have a choice. You can either continue this dialogue with me, or I'll hang up on you. What do you want?
I'm eager to see what you have to say. I don't think you have anything to hold on.
First of all, you call with his big chip on your shoulder. You always call with his big chip on your shoulder.
I know, we're always arrogant. We're always arrogant, aren't we?
No, I'm talking to you as an individual.
Oh, sure.
As an individual two-bit punk. You want to know something, Desmond? You're not even worthy of my time. You jerk. I was going to try to reason with him, but why should I bother with scum like that?
Father might not pay his child support, and a lot of it has to do with the way the mothers make it hard on the man. The courts make it hard on the man.
I don't buy that. I don't see any reason. I don't see any justifiable excuse for not paying child support. No, I don't see. And I never missed one, and I'm proud of that. Never missed one. 4 kids, never missed one.
Well, let me just say one thing.
So any of you guys, you're using sleazy arguments.
Well, it's not really sleazy. But
it's sleazy.
Let me just say one thing, Bob.
If they're your kids, you don't need a court to tell you to pay anyway,
by heaven's sake. Unfortunately, it's just your kid in name only once you're divorced.
Cut it out.
Well, let me just
Cut it out. Come on, you're talking to me.
Let me just say one thing.
What do you want me to get a violin, pal?
No, let me just say one thing. I think it makes as much sense to call men who don't pay their child support deadbeat dads as it does to call women who stay at home with their kids and don't work and don't pay and don't contribute to the family income. Call them deadbeat moms. There's a reason why they don't contribute. They stay at home and the men support them. So there's also a reason.
This guy. What do you want me to do? Give you a medal?
What I'm saying, just to use a term, deadbeat dads, it doesn't go into the reasons why.
If the shoe doesn't fit, don't try to put it on. What do you want from me?
One more thing, Bob. As far as unwed fathers are concerned, an unwed woman, if she doesn't want to have a child, and she gets pregnant, she has an abortion. Nobody says anything. That's the law of the land. But if a man has an incident where he has an incident with a woman, and she decides to have the child, and she takes him to court, he's called, and if he doesn't want to pay the child support, he's called a deadbeat dad. Well, I think we should call the women that have abortions dead baby moms, just the same as dead baby moms.
You're getting on my nerves.
Okay, Bob.
And nervous, then don't call it. If I fulfill my contract, 480. 480! That's counting the rest of this year and the 2 years remaining on the contract. And the contract doesn't expire till December 31st, 1994. 480 shows. I don't think I can make it. They'll probably carry me to either Pilgrim State. What's that other one there that I used to Creedmoor, or Marlboro? There's a mental hospital in Marlboro there, right near Max Brudner's place. Max drives by there all the time, wondering why they haven't caught him. Anyway,
I wondered, is there a newspaper or some type of publication that I can get a hold of to show her that there is an alternate side?
Andy, this is pathetic. This is pathetic. You got a girlfriend. She's being influenced by the Star Ledger and the Bergen Record, and you want to show her something to influence her the other way. The hell with her. Get a new girlfriend, for crying out loud. What do you want such a dope for?
Okay.
Really? I'll introduce you to some... how old are you?
30.
Okay, I know a couple of 26-year-old
Well, that's good.
and
She's
a
26.
real gorgeous 25-year-old chickie poo. And they're
Conservative?
intelligent. They think for themselves. But this broad you've got sounds like a dope. Get rid of her.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bob.
Thank you, Andy.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hey, that sounds like a peachy keen idea. I think the NFL season is boring anyway. And I'm sure, even though it's politics, I'm sure that it would be more interesting. Did you ever notice how repetitious sporting events are? NFL football, for example. Well, football, whether it's collegiate or not. Now, I'm not one of these gavones glued to the set and turning the weekend into an orgy of watching. I'm interested in other kind of orgies, but watching. That's right, pal. It's more fun and you're active. But really, these gavones, and this is why, even though people invite me to Jet games and Giant games, I don't go, because I can't stand these big, fat, 300-pound, beer-guzzling gavones. You know what I can't understand? Giant Stadium is built so that you can see the field from every seat in the house. Why do these gavones have to stand up? The guy's kicking off, they stand. A guy throws a pass, they stand. A guy runs with the ball, they stand. A guy fumbles the ball, they stand. And then you have to stand too, because the jerks in front of you are standing. Well, anyway, switch from one to the other, there was no difference. They all throw the same flat passes. They all try to go long. They all try to go short. A run up the middle, a run off tackle. It's the same thing over and over again. Same thing over and over again. How boring! Bob, you're on, or Rob, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hey, football's okay, Bob. Come on.
No, it's repetitious, it's boring, it's inane, it's stupid, and I despise it. But what's on your mind, Rob?
Sunday, the 200th anniversary of Patterson. Your friends were there. Florio, Lautenberg, Miss America, Larry Doby. Beautiful parade.
Well, Larry Doby's all right, Miss America's all right, but those other two bums, forget about it.
Yeah, I know, you don't like those guys. Well, it was a big success anyway. Worked 14 months on that thing put together. It was a great day for Patterson, even though it rained. What are you going to do, you know?
I'm glad it rained. I'm glad it rained on Flim Flam and that sourpuss, Lautenberg.
Yeah, but the other people were good. They worked hard and dedicated to put this thing and make a success for our great city here, 200 years old. Oh, by the way, you have a lot of people in your cars right now on the highway. Everyone who's going 55 miles an hour now, blow their horn. Or now, who's going 90? Now, I believe that they should keep it at 55. What they haven't gotten to is one thing, like you're going to a destination, say it's 15, 20 miles or whatever. Now, if you're going 55 miles an hour or 65 miles an hour, how much time is there a difference getting from one place to the other? They figure, you know, you figure you're going, I got to get there in a hurry, you know? But how much, if you go 65 or so, how much more time you save? Is it about 5 minutes? Have they figured that out? Or you can figure it out yourself. You're a mathematician, right?
Hey, you know what, Tom? I'm going to have a party someday, and I'd like you to come along because I don't want to have to hire a clown or a magician or somebody like that. I think you're more entertaining. I think you're funnier. Thank you, Tom. Funny guy, that Tom. What's he saying? Tom and his adenoids from Patterson, New Jersey. Betty, you're...
Bob?
Yeah?
I understand that Frank from Queens called today.
Yes?
I was working at the time, and I think the guy is great. Is there any possibility to replay that segment today?
Well, if I did that for Frank, then other people might want it. You know,
Frank is the best, Bob.
I know, but there are other people who might feel that they should have their remarks repeated as well.
Yeah.
It was a superb call, absolutely superb. Vintage Frank.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, it really was.
Well, I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah, I am sorry you missed it, too. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I heard you touch on Magic Johnson before, and I just wanted to add something. I think this guy is such a phony, it's unbelievable. He quit 4 days from the President's Commission on AIDS because he says the government doesn't do enough on AIDS. And then 4 days later, he announces he's going back into basketball. And then 2 days later, he signs a $14 million contract. This guy knew all along that he was going back to basketball, and he just made the statement that the government doesn't do enough on AIDS just to stir things up, I think. He's just such a fake and a phony, and I can't see why everybody holds him up like he's a god. Like what he did, he caught AIDS, and we should all feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for him. He's a phony and he's a fake.
And why is it taking so long for the HIV to go into full-blown AIDS? Crying out loud, I'm making novenas. You laugh.
It's true.
You laugh.
You're right.
No, really. I tell you, it's terrible that this guy is doing this, and I'll tell you why. There are a lot of young dopes out there who are saying, what's so bad about the HIV? Look, this guy was having sex with all these people. He gets the HIV. Look, he's put on 15 pounds. You know, he's gained 15 pounds.
Right.
And he is... he played in the Olympics in Barcelona.
Right.
And he didn't lose a step. He's just as good as ever. Hey, it's not so bad. Who said it was so bad? But
exactly.
if the guy would go into full-blown AIDS and deteriorate in front of our eyes and croak, then maybe he could make a contribution, because there's an old Hindu expression: he teaches best who teaches by example. So give us an example, Magic. Thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Bob.
If I sound heartless, that's too bad. I've been watching you in that empty House chamber, indefatigably, courageously, but perhaps futilely exposing Bill Clinton and his trip to Moscow, December 31st, 1969.
Roberto the Fair, Roberto the Just. Let me tell you, the chamber may be empty. Last night it was filled with two heroes, Duncan Hunter and the only Navy ace from the Vietnam War, who was shot down himself in one of the harbors and almost taken prisoner, Duke Cunningham of San Diego. Tonight, Sam Johnson of Texas, one of our greatest congressmen, who was a 7-year prisoner in Hanoi, almost 4 years in solitary confinement, tortured severely, even while his own arms and legs were broken. He's going to be there tonight in his gentle Gary Cooper way, discussing the senior policy advisor for Governor Clinton in this campaign, one David Ipshin, who not only went to Moscow, he continued on from Moscow through Rangoon to Hanoi, where he met with Pham Van Dong, I'm looking at the picture right in front of me, and went on the radio, communist radio, to tell our troops in the South to drop their weapons. In other words, he did what Jane Fonda did a year earlier. Now, let me do a little cleanup. Curtis Sliwa, on your great flagship of all discussion shows in America, took some calls this morning, and there was some question whether I had the documentation. I've got it, Brother Bob, in spades. How about out of his own mouth? How about out of Betsy Wright's mouth, who called in to Ed Koch's show at 7:30 in the morning, or maybe she called in to Sliwa and said, well, I was just another stupid, silly Congressman who didn't know what I was talking about, and the reason he never discussed the Moscow trip is no one ever asked Governor Clinton about it. Does that sound like the marijuana? Nobody asked me if I smoked it overseas. And on Ed Koch's show, at least he said I was a nice guy, but then he said I was nutty on this, and he said that Clinton's never been to Moscow. Where did he get that? They still don't have it straight in the Clinton National Headquarters in Arkansas. Some people answer the phone and say he wasn't there. Others say he was. So what? So what if it was 26 degrees below zero, and nobody will tell how he got there by train or Aeroflot airplane? Nobody will tell if he went to 10 Kensington Gardens Court and got his visa from the Russians in London as a reward for his anti-American demonstrations, not just at Oxford, where he never went to class that year, but in Grosvenor Square. Ed Koch said there were no caskets, no white crosses. Oh, yes, there were. We've got reporters over there now from responsible journals in Moscow, as we speak, and in London, going through all the files of the papers, trying to find the killer photograph. To Tucson and Phoenix this last weekend, and I asked these audiences, has anybody in this room ever heard on radio or TV or seen one printed line of the Jennifer Flowers tapes, which Clinton has admitted are real by his apology to Mario Cuomo for conceding that Cuomo acted like a mafioso in his conversation with Flowers? Bob, in all these weeks of campaigning, I've only had 2 people out of 1,000 or more people put up their hand and say they've ever seen a word of these valid transcripts of them discussing oral sex, her tight little butt, his advising her to lie about Charlotte Perry, a qualified African-American woman who was bumped aside for the job that he gave Jennifer Flowers at more money than his own lieutenant governor. And when Reed Irvine of Accuracy in Media, a man we admire, asked Rune Arledge of your network, what about the Charlotte Perry case? Rune, who's a pretty smart executive, said, who's Charlotte Perry? I never heard of her.
I knew from the minute I heard that newscast that you were going to get on this case, and you were thinking exactly like me.
I mean, couldn't the Sfaccimm, the miserable, couldn't that putrescence, couldn't he just come out and say, I condemn this? No, he had to say, well, listen, people have a right even to say insulting things, demeaning things, annoying things. They have their right. We didn't need a speech, Il Supremo, you ashangada miserable.
I agree 100%. So may I salute him?
Yes.
Mario, azendome, tu sei bravinos Sfaccimm.
You know what I like about you, Steve? You didn't try to embellish it with added phrases like that gavone fill from Edison a little while ago.
Wouldn't think of it, Bob.
No.
I know that you have your standards, and I try to follow them.
That's it, Steve. You're a stand-up guy. Grazie.
I have one for Hillary, too.
Okay.
Okay, this is a little different. Hillary, azendome, tu sei male putan. Thank you, Bob.
On WABC.
Express my rage at what Sinead O'Connor pulled on Saturday Night Live. I was watching the program at the time, and I saw it, and it really infuriated me. And I was one of the ones who called up immediately after that program. And I understand from your screener that I'm the first person who called about this issue. And since it happened on Saturday, and you've had a full program and now most of a program today, I think that's very illustrative of your audience. If it seems to me that if anybody had offended Jewish people in the same manner, that your phones would probably be ringing off the hook. I guess when somebody else's religion is slandered and disgraced that way, that nobody gives a damn. I just think that's too bad. You just keep on playing that music like you just played, Bob, and you know what side of the bread.
Wait a minute. One has nothing to do with the other. If you were listening to my program on Monday at 3 o'clock, you would have heard in my opening remarks my editorial about that outrage. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't, but apparently no one has called in to express
Paul,
their rage.
I think you owe me an apology because of your inference just a moment ago.
Well, let me ask you a question. How much money do you get for appearing at various shuls and other such things?
Not enough.
Not enough.
Thank
you get plenty.
There's a real scumbag for you. Real scumbag. A real anti-Semitic scumbag, ladies and gentlemen. And I can get a million memos telling me not to use that word, but it fits that guy. That's what he is, and that's what I'm going to call him, because that's what he is.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, I tried to call you. I can't believe I got you.
Well, when did you try to call me?
Well, I find it extremely annoying that we have to be listening to this tape of the Clinton tape over and over again. I think that in general, it kind of brings you down. I think that, in fact, if you would present why President Bush was a better candidate than nominee Clinton, it would be a much better approach than to keep on taking this hard copy type of approach of this journalism that's reflected in the National Star. I think you're better than that.
What, do you get nervous when you hear it?
No, I don't.
Does it embarrass you? Are you afraid that enough people might absorb the broad implications here, might come to the realization that, hey, you know, this guy is a philanderer, and more damning, he is a liar? Here's a guy who had a relationship with this woman and lied about it.
No, Bob, I just find that after about the fourth or fifth time of
Well, then don't listen. Hey, John, you don't have to listen. I give you permission to turn the volume down or turn the radio off. I give you permission. We don't want you to lower yourself by having to hear this. It's too damn bad. I'm going to play it every day from now until November 3rd. How does that grab you?
I just wish that you would present the issues much more clearly than to use that kind of sensationalism.
The issues are this. You have a choice. You have a choice, either between keeping President Bush or going with Slick Willie. If you want to take a chance on Slick Willie, that's your privilege. That's your right. I don't want to take a chance on the bum. Thank you.
Bye.
You know, I'm trying to look at I'm trying to look for a silver lining in the cloud of a Clinton victory. And I'm preparing myself. One thing that will be interesting is Il Supremo, ever since he became governor back in 1982, has blamed Washington for anything that went wrong. He blamed Reagan for all those years, and then since 1988, he's blamed George Bush. What is he going to do after Bill Clinton becomes president? What is he going to do? Who is he going to blame then? He won't be able to inveigh against Washington. The same for the attendant. Who is he going to blame? He used to blame Washington. What are these... who are they going to blame with Slick Willie in the White House? That's going to be interesting.
And
Sal, hello.
Hi, Bob. Listen, I don't like what you say about Mario Cuomo. You're teaching the people the wrong way. That's Neapolitan. You got to teach them Italian. Not everybody understands the Neapolitan dialect.
Well,
this is what you got to tell them. You got to tell Mario, sentimi. Sei un cornuto e un pezzo di merda.
But he's not. He's not, and I don't like the language you're using. It's vulgar, it's filthy, it's dirty, and so are you, you creep.
Well, Sinead O'Connor was excommunicated from the church because of her abortions, and that's why I think she was mad at the Pope.
Uh-huh. Well, look, that doesn't justify what she did. She's a bum. She doesn't belong in this country.
The church condemned her to hell, so she got a little upset about it.
Well, that's where she belongs. Say hello on WABC.
Hello, Bob. Do you think any parallels can be drawn between the Ross Perot candidacy and the recent news stories concerning Napoleon?
What shtick are you trying to pull, Gary?
How about between Madonna's new book of erotic photos and Bob Dornan's beard?
You know what, Gary? If you were funny, I'd chat with you a little bit and try to have a little fun, but you're not even funny.
And Jay Diamond is?
Yeah, you bet he is. And you have no talent. You're a nothing. Get off my phone, you freak!
Any kind of personal records or checkbooks or anything like that, phone records?
Do I have any?
Yeah.
I mean, why would I?
I don't know.
You usually call me, for that matter, and besides, who would know?
Isn't that amazing?
Even if I had it on my phone record. Oh, well, I guess they might be able to say, well, you were in Washington on this date, maybe at that number and connect that, but see, you always call me, so that's not a...
I wouldn't care if they, they may have my phone records on this computer here, but I don't think that doesn't prove anything.
All right. Slick Willie was played by Bill Clinton, and Jen was played by Jennifer Flowers. That isn't the issue. I think the issue is twofold. The issue is that we have a sick, antisocial, bigoted bitch.
No question about
it. Who really is not a great talent, does not have a great voice, does not have a great style.
People keep holding microphones up
and
the secrets of life.
And what she's doing is taking advantage of the fact that freaks are in vogue. So she shaves her head. She denounces the United States of America, and that didn't get enough attention, so she denounced the Pope and did that ridiculous thing, that bigoted thing, in which she ripped up his picture. I guarantee you this. If she had ripped up a picture of Martin King or Jesse Jackson, there would be such a hue and cry. It'd be like you couldn't believe. It would be like the world stopped in its tracks. But it's just the Pope, and these are only Catholics. They don't count anymore. It's just amazing how some groups have just become so docile while other groups become bolder and more demanding. It's crazy out there. Thank you, Steve.
For Flowers, but it just proves one thing. That Jennifer for Flowers is probably a Republican plant, and that she's a no-good backstabbing bitch.
How
and
could you...
Fact,
wait a minute.
The fact that
wait
you
a minute. Hold it, Manny. Hold it, Manny. Manny. Oh, get off the phone, you creep. I'm trying to point out that she's not a Republican. Maybe she is now, but she sure as heck wasn't at the time. And Manny doesn't want to accept the fact that Jennifer Flowers got a job bumping a woman by the name of Charlotte Perry in order to have Bill Clinton fulfill his promise to her. But Manny doesn't want to be disturbed by the truth. That's his tough luck. You're a creep, Manny. Don't call it anymore. I despise you.
I think they're just hoping, in some sense, that
in other words, they want to roll the dice.
Answer.
They're so desperate they want to roll. Hey, look. What are we talking about here? They're going to do it. What do you want from me?
I'm just telling you what I think the mood of the country is.
Yeah, well, you're telling me what your mood is too.
I'm a Clinton supporter.
Yeah, well, why didn't you say so from the beginning instead of trying to sound like some objective observer? You're like Mike Jensen of NBC News. He is such a pro-Clinton nonce. It's so obvious he might just as well come on in neon lights, and yet he comes in as their economic correspondent. I'm sick of guys like you who don't come out and put a real label on yourself. I had you spotted from the beginning. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, he was annoying me the way he was talking. I mean, what
was somebody strangling him while he was trying to talk? I don't understand people like that. Hello, Lucia.
Hello, it's Lucia, yes.
Lucia,
I know.
If I said Lucia, you would have said Lucia.
No,
what a dumb name anyway,
right.
Lucia. Lucia.
Yes, I was always hoping that you'd serenade me at some point.
Oh, really?
Look,
on the character of Slick Willie.
Well,
so whether it's Vietnam or some other issue, the character of the man is what I think is important.
I think the character of the man is fine.
Well, of course, you've already said you want to vote for him. Naturally, you would think it's fine.
Wait a second. I think the Vietnam War was a criminal act by the United States.
Oh, well, you've just revealed. See, this is the type of person supporting Slick Willie.
No, it's not.
Get off my phone, you bum. 58,000 men gave their lives, and he says a criminal act. What a bum. That's the type of bum supporting Slick Willie. By the way, I want to tell you something. I got I read a report that the Clinton campaign, you'd think because they're so far ahead they would relax. The Clinton campaign has told people to call the Bob Grant show. And I recognize a concerted, orchestrated, conspiratorial array of callers. I recognize them. That's all right. That's all right because they probably will enjoy the program and they'll stay as listeners. Hello, Richard.
Yeah, Mr. Grant, I had to call you to tell you that the more vicious you get and the more venom you spit out, the more people are going to vote for Clinton.
Really?
Yeah, you sound like a very desperate man.
Let me ask you something.
Hey, wait a minute.
Let me ask you something. You say the more I sound the way I do, then people are going to vote for Clinton. Were you going to vote for Bush until you heard me?
Oh, yeah.
My foot, you fake. Oh, yeah. The guy can't even... How come most of these people calling for Clinton can't even speak English? May, you're on WABC. Hello.
The great Bob Grant. Good morning, Bob.
You got permission from Mark W. Mason to put me on WFAN?
Well, no, we didn't run it by him. We got your phone number from him. I called. Abrams and D'Amato were scheduled to be on with you on WABC this afternoon, and what happened?
I'll tell you what happened. Bob Abrams doesn't want to come on. And instead of just coming right out and say, no, we don't want to come on, they give the baloney, the flim-flam stuff, and say, well, we can't make it. Our schedule's not clear. My foot, his schedule isn't clear. Where are you, you creep?
Bob, just settle down here just a second. You can see, Al wanted to come in here tomorrow, but what we're going to do, we're going to have him on next Thursday morning at 7, and if we know Al will show up, and if Abrams doesn't show up, I'm going to have Rob Bartlett, who does what we try to euphemistically refer to as comedy on this program, play the part of Bob Abrams. So.
Well, is he going to see a urologist to have at least a partial castration so he can play the part convincingly?
That's cold. That is cold. Bob Grant here on the Irish Sunday Morning program.
I helped to put together a teach-in at the University of London. That's the only thing that I ever helped to put together. And there was one other thing that I've confirmed. I was at the American Embassy, and I went to a group of Americans who were demonstrating in front of the American Embassy one day, and I participated in that.
Just last week he said Dornan was crazy. He said that's ridiculous. He wasn't involved in any demonstrations. This is the way he always operates. First he says no, and then he says well maybe, and then he says yeah, but just a little bit, and then eventually we find out it was all the way. What a fake! What a phony! What a fraud!
A statement again was made by one of the talk show hosts this morning, one of the females whom I do not want to listen to because I just get so riled up, who said, and I quote, well, George Bush let his 2 people die in a plane when he bailed out. Bob, I don't know where these people get this information.
Well, listen, I don't mind the fact that this bag lady, this political moron, this left-wing extremist, radical Tompkins Square Park bum, I don't know why, she's entitled to be for whomever she wishes.
Right.
But to take an incident out of the military and so distort it and lie about it is absolutely, I think it's absolutely unacceptable and shouldn't be tolerated. It is a lie. He didn't let his crew members die. Here's a guy. She can't stand the fact that the man was a certified hero, the youngest pilot in the Naval Air Corps in World War II. He flew, 56 combat missions?
On board the USS San Jacinto.
He was awarded the distinguished...
yes, sir.
What was it? Distinguished Flying Cross?
Distinguished Flying Cross, right.
And, inadvertently I said Congressional Medal of Honor about 2 weeks ago, and I'm so sick and tired of getting all this mail saying it was a Distinguished Flying Cross, it was a Distinguished... Yes, I know, it was the Distinguished Flying Cross.
Hi, Bob. Bob?
Hello, Earl.
Hi, Bob. You had 2 callers on before, and I think the point they were trying to make is that we're never hearing anything why we should vote for George Bush. All of the Clinton bashing seems to be detracting from why we should vote for George Bush. Now, I'd like to know what is his record to vote for him. What has he done?
Well, where have you been? I mean, have you been on Mars that suddenly you come in and you have no knowledge of what's been going on?
What has been going on?
Let me say this.
Done for the country?
Earl, let me say this to you.
Tell me.
You are obviously a Clinton supporter.
That's right.
Okay. So therefore, for me to engage you in any discussion of this type is meaningless, useless, and absolutely ludicrous.
Well,
and I don't intend to waste my time with a scumbag like you who opens the conversation by asking that question. Instead of identifying yourself as a Clinton supporter and telling us why you're a Clinton supporter, you play this very sleazy, childish game. I despise that. You see, Sfaccimm is not a dirty word.
No,
but you were throwing out a couple of dirty words there.
Ok, non lo dico più. I won't say any more dirty words.
All right.
Nubro chiuso, schifoso, sfacciato, senza vergogna, assassino della verità, e tu, Mariolino, tu sei proprio uno Sfaccimm. How's that?
Are you Siciliano?
No, but I have my family's friends were all mixed from Sicily and Naples.
Yeah, because
and so on.
you said that with pretty much of a Sicilian dialect, you know.
Yeah, I probably mixed up a lot of them in there.
You did. You had Sicilian, Napolitan,
right.
Calabrese. You had everything but Barese in there. Okay.
Maybe next time.
Next time, talk Italian, will you?
All right.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
It's 18 minutes before. A question to a Catholic publication goes thusly. Since Democratic presidential nominee Bill Clinton is pro-choice on abortion, would it be a sin for a Catholic to vote for him for president in November? And that's from JRL, New York. And the answer? Before answering the question, let us reiterate that the Catholic Church has from the first century taught that abortion is, in the words of the Second Vatican Council, an unspeakable crime. In its 1974 declaration on procured abortion, the Sacred Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith said, a Christian can never conform to a law which is in itself immoral, and such is the case of a law which would admit in principle the act of abortion. Since Governor Clinton is adamantly pro-abortion and supports the so-called Freedom of Choice Act that would allow unrestricted abortion on demand in the United States, any Catholic knowing this, and yet who votes for him in November, is guilty of an objectively grave immoral action. The same is true, of course, of a vote for any pro-abortion candidate for political office. The subjective sinfulness of the action would depend, as always, on whether the voter was fully aware of the person's stand on abortion. Thought I would share that with you as we do. No, from Brooklyn. Patrick, hello.
Hi, how are you this evening, sir? I called you last week, and I'm the one who discussed with you the tax deal with Clinton and New York and Arkansas as the only two not releasing soldiers from the tax deal. And since I've discussed that, I've heard it on both your show and another radio show. And I understand that there are basically numerous people who are inquiring to your radio station about this. And I'd just like to let them know that the federal government released all service members who were in the theater, whether the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marines, if they were in the theater, they were released from the tax, released from their obligation to pay the tax, federal taxes for that year. The following day, 48 of the states followed except for the two, New York and Arkansas. So there were no other states involved. I had the whole list printed by the government, printed by the states. I was my unit's tax advisor. I advised 6 or 8 soldiers on this, and I know it for a fact. I've read it.
Well, nobody's disputing this. You're calling as though we have disputed what you've said. I did not dispute what you said.
No,
it happens to be you happen to be correct.
Okay.
So why are you calling as though I've said you're wrong? I haven't said you're wrong. You're right.
Well, then I apologize. I'm not saying you said that, and I didn't mean to come off that way. I was trying to for those who were confused about it. However, I would like to make one point about the war. I have consistently, since I came back to the United States, heard, why didn't we kill Hussein? Why did we finish the war and leave, or not finish the war?
We will go anyway. They'll talk me into it. They'll entice me to go. Probably tell me there's going to be a lot of good-looking broads there. Well, why is it the guys in the control room fall off the chair when I say that? I don't understand. I don't know. Now, I'm ticked off. I hear Johnny Donovan's voice making that announcement. I say to myself, wait a minute, nobody came to me. Nobody said, what are you doing the 19th? Nobody asked me. Eric, you're at WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob. First-time caller. I got a question for you. How can people not see Clinton be the fake, phony, and fraud, especially when a couple of months ago, he's all for the NAFTA agreement, and now he's speaking to a union, and he's against it. He says he has to read the fine print, but they may lose some union jobs. I mean, how can people not realize that he just says anything to whoever he's speaking to?
I tell you, this is one of the most bizarre political years in the history of the American presidency. He had a guy who, just a few short months ago, was held in such low esteem
that members of his own party wanted to have an open convention so they could nominate somebody else. They even wanted to turn to that Sfaccimm il Supremo. Now suddenly, the guy is soaring in the polls. I mean, just absolutely soaring, just going out of sight. The character issue, which was the reason Senator Bob Kerrey said Clinton would be open like a soft peanut, and Governor Bob Casey of Pennsylvania said he would take the Democrats down to certain defeat and so forth. The character issue apparently doesn't make a dent. The American people, as of this moment, apparently don't care. It could turn out that he raped that he raped Chelsea, and they probably would shrug it off. You know, maybe he'd take a little blip in the polls for one day and then be right back up there. So who could argue with the American people? They want the guy. It's obvious they want the guy. They're going to get him.
I mean, don't people realize how this is going to benefit and help us grow as a nation? That, yes, we may lose some jobs in some areas, but we'll gain.
Very fine gentleman who wasn't for him, we have to close the doors. He and I basically run the shop, and he is also a listener of yours. We listen to you every day. And unfortunately for him, the business is going to roll on. Fortunately, I've got him to help us along. But Bob, it was a senseless act, and my point here is going to be guns. I own weapons of my own. I'm not opposed to rifles. I mean, I called a friend of mine who happens to be a counselor, psychologist, and the first thing she said to me was, that's why there shouldn't be guns. Well, that's not the point, because that's why there shouldn't be cars, or hands, or knives, or stones, or whatever it is that we can kill people with. The point is that people in an act of cowardice, desperation, go in and do things that they don't have to do if they were given some more time to think about it. And unfortunately, the Grandview gun shop in Kansas City, Missouri, was
between Clinton and the trial lawyers of America that there is not going to be any reform of tort.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. You're a most astute man. I appreciate it, Evan.
Thank you.
Evan from Hauppauge, which was declared wall-to-wall Bob Grant country in, let's see, it was December 9th, 1972. I didn't realize it was that long ago. At 11:48.
Fraud, I know.
Yeah, you're a fake, phony fraud and a gabon greaseball jerk. Frank, you're at WABC. I mean, one of these days I want to tell somebody what I really think. Frank, you're at WABC. Hello.
Bob, I registered to vote Republican at your advice. Bob, I was watching the Republican convention, and I heard a lot of things about the world global economy coming, and the New World Order. And then I heard Senator Phil Gramm. He was making a speech, and it seemed like he was saying he was speaking of Bush in a lot of biblical terms. And he was talking about how the whole world loves George Bush. And then he said they speak his name in 1,000 dialects. And the cameras, I was watching ABC, they immediately focused on Jerry Falwell. And then it switched over to Pat Robertson. And I don't know whether it's consciously or subconsciously, maybe I'm crazy, but it seems like the religious right, I'm a Republican, it seems like we're just following biblical prophecy towards the eventual one world government.
Oh, no.
Am I crazy?
There's not going to be any one world government. There'll never be one world government. The world will never be united. It's impossible. People don't want to unite as human beings. They want to constantly divide racially, ethnically, religiously.
Right.
There's no hope. Listen, this goes beyond politics. This goes beyond an election. It is in the nature of man. Man is just sinful. He is. I really have a low opinion of people. Really, when you just study history, you don't have to go into it deeply. Just a cursory study. Tell me one time people weren't fighting other people, picking on them because they were different. Tell me one time.
Right. Now, we were supposed to have a joint, before the collapse of this, a joint Soviet, this is a different subject, a joint Soviet-American manned mission to Mars. And now that have you heard anything about that? Because I was watching a movie, The Cosmos, with Dr. Carl Sagan, and I was pretty fascinated. When we sent the Viking up there in '76, it landed on Mars. They had pictures of pyramids up there.
There were no pyramids on Mars.
Did you see the Cosmos?
There's no pyramids on Mars, pal. They're just some green men doing the cha-cha-cha. Thank you for
I
the
love
call.
you, Bob. Thank you.
Okay. I tell you. Wa-ba-ba-boom, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-boom, ba-ba. Ladies and gentlemen, we are taking telephone calls. On WABC, we're forging ahead. Okay, Tom.
All right.
Thank you. Bye. People right away, they want to infringe on the freedom of the press. As left-wing as the media is, that is not the way to change it. Once we start doing that, then who's to say who's going to be the arbiter, right? Joan, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello. I'd like to say, first of all, that no loss in getting rid of Harley Carnes. And secondly...
My gosh, nobody's getting rid of him. He quit.
Well, goodbye, good riddance.
Why? Why do you say that?
I just never liked him.
Really?
No, I don't.
I always took it for granted everybody liked him.
No,
Okay.
I never did.
All right.
And the second thing I want to say is that I thank God every morning when I wake up and I say to myself, you're a liberal Democrat. I love being a liberal Democrat.
You wake up every morning and you say that? Do you get goosebumps when you say that? I mean, here's a woman, ladies and gentlemen, she says, I wake up every morning and I said, thank God you're a liberal Democrat.
Right.
You sound like a real sicko, Joan.
Thank you.
Real weirdo. Go have an orgasm, will you? Maybe that's what you need.
Bye, Rug.
Get off my phone, you slob douchebag. Tom, hello. Saying that about Harley Carnes. How dare her? How dare she? Let's check in with Ed Arnold now in the Metro Traffic Control Center.
All righty. And this report, Mr. Grant, brought to you by Riot Family.
WABC. We're having trouble raising Lou here. It won't work. All right, let's try here. No?
Hello?
Well, wait a minute now. Wait a minute. All right, we have Lou now? Okay, Lou, hello.
Hi, Bob. Bob, I wanted to thank you for putting Mary Madeline
yes.
and Mona Sharon on. I think they are two great defenders of America. And Mona's a real fighter. I saw her on TV stand up to Hunt on the Capital Gang.
Yes.
And Bicko, I think his name is.
Well, you mean the Capital Gang? That's...
that was on the...
Al Hunt, Bob Novak, Mark Shields are the regulars, and I believe Mona Sharon is on quite a bit. Sometimes they have a woman by the name of Warner, who's a typical left-wing Newsweek. She's not as bad as Eleanor Clift, who has the bottom of the barrel.
I agree.
Eleanor Clift is the pits, the absolute pits.
I agree with you. But Mona stood up to Hunt and Bicko. Have you seen him on the...
yeah. Well, he was Walter Mondale's campaign manager, so how he comes across as a...
He's a big mouth.
Yeah, but how he's not a journalist, not really. And they shouldn't try to make the audience think they are.
Yeah.
That's what I like about this program. If there's nothing else about this program, it's honest. It says at the beginning, dedicated to the exchange of ideas and of opinions.
It's great.
Yeah.
Bob, can I make the tribute to Mario?
All right. Give it a shot. Go ahead.
Okay. Mario, tu sam talcende me, tu sam propria Sfaccimm.
Not bad, Lou. Not bad.
Not that good.
Not bad.
Okay, Bob.
All right.
More Mona Sharon.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What he was really attempting to do, they didn't do bad about it. Mario, ascende me. Mario, tu si proviano Sfaccimm. Everybody say it together. You'll feel better. You really will. There's something therapeutic about it. It's a catharsis. Tu si proviano Sfaccimm. Sfaccimm. I understand that since we've been doing that people who have occasion to be with El Supremo forget themselves. The other day, they said that one of his aides said, hey, Sfaccimm, Governor.
Hey, Bob, you're at WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob.
Yes.
Before I get to the judge thing, I'd like to say before when you were talking about that woman who had a 7-year-old child by Bill Clinton.
Yes.
And you said, how come the sister knew about it? Well, I guess they just have a different sense of family values. You know, keep it all in the family, like stepfather and stepdaughter and mommy and daddy and daddy and daddy and so forth. They just like to give all this love around. Now, the thing I want to talk about is that nobody seems to bring up the fact that you got 3 judges on that Supreme Court, and I doubt whether they can last another 4 years. Black men, if you walk around and once you get a medical degree, and they're just so old that I honestly feel that the next president will appoint at least 2 of them.
Oh, yeah.
And to me,
I think Blackman for sure, and probably John Paul Stevens.
Right. Because they have dead, and to me, that's the most important thing, that the president should be elected. A guy like Bush, can you imagine 2 Mario Cuomos up there? I mean, that no one seems to talk about, but I think that's a very important issue, and I think the Republicans should harp on that. They have mentioned it once or twice, but they should tell the American people, you want 2 Mario Cuomos or even 3 up there? Oh, that's what I got to say, Bob.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Right on.
Hey, Bob from Valley Stream calling. Here's Dan from Suffern. We're going to say hello to you, Dan.
Yeah, Bob, could you tell me, please, exactly what it is that School Chancellor Hernandez and the other members of the school board find evil and threatening about teaching abstention to children? I mean, what is it? Do they have some kind of in with the condom lobby, or are they interested in promoting sexually transmitted diseases? Or what's the deal there?
I'm glad you raised that question, Dan, because we're talking about a lot of things that, by comparison, are not as important as the subject you've just brought up. To think that Fernandez and some of his ilk consider it repugnant to teach abstinence. As a matter of fact, he says the anti-AIDS lessons will go on. He's just obsessed. Here's a guy whose only qualification for the job was that his name is Fernandez.
Right.
That's all. That was the only qualification. This double-chinned jerk, this guy that looks as though somebody just pushed him off a banana boat. I mean, what does he have to commend? What academic achievements can he boast? What academic input can he say he has installed in the New York public school system?
Well, he's probably, like you say, he's probably the first high school dropout to make it to Chancellor.
From the moment he arrived on the scene, and they gave him all those perks, the $1 million home and all that crap, from that moment on, all we heard was condoms and AIDS, condoms and AIDS, condoms and AIDS. Maybe this guy ought to be running a whorehouse. Maybe that's what he's best suited for.
It does sound like that.
He's an absolute disgrace. An absolute disgrace. And the worst part about it is a lot of people don't know it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the way you got to look at it, anybody who is so against this kind of thing, I mean, it's the most natural way to stem any of these problems. The first thing you got to teach these kids is abstention. They're not talking about telling these kids, you shouldn't go out and have a good time or whatever. They're just informing them that that's a way to avoid problems. That's crazy. Also, another thing, I just want to, on the tails of this Joan character who's just on, I'd like to bid a fond farewell to Harley Carnes, actually. I just hope that whoever they get to replace him has the same kind of rapport with you that he had. I mean, I'm going to miss that good-natured banter that went on between you and Nolan and him. It's a shame he's leaving.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for everything.
Okay, take care, Bob.
And we go from Dan to Ann checking in right now from New Windsor. Hello, Ann.
Hi, Bob. I really called in also to wish Harley Carnes good luck, and I hope it's not a real goodbye. Hope he'll be back here soon. I wish they had been able to convince him to take the spot of one of the 3 dumbbells, female dumbbells.
Well, what do you mean convince him? They never offered him the spot. What are you talking about?
Well, I wish someone would have enough sense to, and also convince him when they do have enough.
Well, Harley Sport is news. He's an excellent news person.
Well, he was so good during the Gulf War. Remember, he had the
that's true.
Half hour of talk,
That's right. Yeah.
I really enjoyed him. And now on the female dumbbells, it was bad enough when Curtis was on, but Lynn is just an echo of Lisa, everything Lisa says, she echoes, and at least Curtis used to give it.
Yeah, Curtis, I have hope for Curtis. Curtis is coming around.
He seemed to have a little bit more.
No, he's got a little more. He's not a wacko lefto feminist. Hey, you see Lisa walking around here.
All those adjectives.
You'd swear the commandos have landed. The broad walks around like a commando, for Christ's sake.
I agree with all those adjectives that you say about it, and I was really furious. Except I will not call their show.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
WABC, I mean, the last thing I want to do is sit here and listen to somebody talk about somebody else around here. Talk about me! Hello, Paula.
Hello, Bob. I'd love to talk about you anytime. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm going to miss Harley very, very much, and that screwball that was on, tell her goodbye for me. And I'd like to answer that guy last night who said, who mispronounced President Reagan's name, because I think I mispronounced names too, like Governor Cluckton and Senator Bohr, who are both Democrats. Notice I said Democrats. Did you know that Governor Clinton had two goals in his life?
Why be a play straight man?
Yeah.
Okay, what are they?
Oh, the first one was that he wanted to be the Pillsbury Doughboy, but that didn't work out well because Procter & Gamble likes a clean image, so he ran for president.
What was his second goal? Running for president? I see.
Second goal.
I see.
I hope he misses the second one, too.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine 4 years Hillary being the first lady?
Oh, my God.
I'll tell you, one of the fringe benefits of a Clinton defeat is how long will it take Hillary to divorce the bum?
Well, she'll have commando boots like Lisa.
But nobody could look more at home in a pair of commando boots. I swear, Lisa's walking around with hand grenades on a belt, on an ammo belt. Really?
Well, these feminists, they drive me nuts too, Bob, I'll tell you. And that man that talked about the Supreme Court, that is the number one reason we need President Bush. No Mario, Mario, Mario.
Hey, listen, mostly men try the message to Mario. You sound like a good sport, Paula. How about the message to Mario? You want to try it?
Tell me how to say it.
All right, it sounds hard, but it's not really.
Okay.
Mario, ascenda me.
Mario, ascenda me.
Very good. Duce brovino Sfaccimm.
Duce brovino, what is it?
Sfaccimm.
Sfaccimm.
Very good. You're cute, Paula.
Thank you. So are you, Bob. I love you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I like the way Paula said it. That's cute. Sfaccimm. Everybody say it together. Ready? Sfaccimm. Sfaccimm. Oh, dear me, we're the only... Hey, look, there are 50 states in the Union, and we are blessed here in New York because we have a real Sfaccimm as governor. How many other states? Well, yeah, that's right. Arkansas can make that claim. That's right. I forgot about that. Let's see here. Almost 6:45. That means 15 more minutes of the agony and the ecstasy. I'm the ecstasy. I guess that means you're the other one.
On WABC.
Electric are basically left-wing organizations.
Well, I don't know if they're left-wing, but certainly the subdivisions are left-wing.
Why would General Electric or Capital City subsidize a left-wing?
I don't know. I've wondered about that, too. I've wondered myself, why in the world... unless it's they want to keep a hands-off policy and leave the endeavors up to the people. I really don't. That's a darn good question. Well, they don't really meddle. They leave us. I'm happy to say that they leave us alone. So the question should be asked: do you want to practice censorship? And I guess they don't want to practice censorship. I know you're trying to be cutesy, Wayne. You're probably surprised at how honestly I'm answering the question. You probably thought I was going to shrink from the question. You thought I was going to be devastated by it.
Well, you did good, Bob. I like your sense of humor.
On WABC, let's say hello. No, Jim's not there. We're going to say hello to Jim. All of a sudden, Jim is not there. Everybody disappeared. Everybody disappeared.
They showed
Forge ahead here. Jim checking in on the line from Madison. Hello, Jim.
Hi, Bob. I heard your excellent interview with Mary Madeline. And given the points she was making and the fact that Bill Clinton is still up in the polls a bit, what do you see? How does that foretell about the United States? I mean, what does that say? Does that say that people are starting to be sucked into what the media is saying? I mean, is this something we should be very frightened of?
Well, I think that a Clinton presidency is something that should concern us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what you think we should be frightened of, though.
Well, in other words, you see, I'm in sales, and I speak to a lot of people, and I'm amazed at how uninformed the general public is.
Well,
and that concerns me, because if you have a media telling you things, and the people begin to believe this as being the gospel, and you and I, we look below the headlines, and we try to look for the truth, and we discover other things. And people are happy with just hearing little sound bites.
Well, people are lazy. No, people are lazy. I can tell when there's, for example, some kind of write-up maybe about me, and someone will comment on it, and I say, oh, did you read it? I say, well, not yet. I haven't gotten around to it. We're lazy. People don't read things. Day in and day out, people say to me, Bob, how do you know so much? That same stuff that I know is available to everybody.
Sure.
But people just don't read. I watch individuals glance at a newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really read a whole story. They don't. They may look at a headline, a subheadline, maybe the first couple of sentences in a paragraph, and then they stop. Mainly, I think, because people are lazy. We are not trained. We have not trained ourselves to follow through.
Does that go back to the schools, you think?
I think it's part of it, sure. And the schools are obsessed. For example, here in the New York school system, they're just obsessed with condoms and AIDS, sex education. There's no academic achievement going on. As a matter of fact, I remember in journalism school, we had a course on how to read a newspaper.
Sure.
How to read a newspaper. People read columns in the New York Times, for example. Do they bother to look and see who wrote that column? Who that person is?
Yeah. Very basic. The education that you're talking about is very, very basic, but very apropos to life in general. I mean, it really gave us the kind of information that we needed to get by. You don't need to know a lot of this other stuff to succeed in life. You need a lot of things to just help you, just to help you to deal with things on a common sense level. So.
It's not easy. It takes a little effort, but as we get lazier and lazier, the prospects for a brighter future become less and less, don't they?
It's scary, but you just got to try to do the best you can with your family and your friends, and try to influence the people within your limited sphere.
You understand, Jim. You're a wise young man. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Well, that slams the lid on things for today until Monday, when I will return live at 3 o'clock. Don't forget the Best of Grant tomorrow morning. Until Monday.
Yeah, how you doing? Good afternoon, Mr. Grant. Listen, there's a lot of talk going on about this praise for David Dinkins because he kept calm and all this, which I don't buy for a second anyway. But to the best of my knowledge, if you listen to the news that was on last week with Harley, and if you read some of the papers, that there actually were incidents. There were incidents at Madison Square Garden before the Ranger game there the other night. A friend of mine told me a story about people rampaging and breaking windows and whatnot. He was there with his wife, and it was...
Well, that's true. They did. They broke some huge windows of the bank that is on the main floor.
Yeah. So I mean, where is this coming from?
Well, what they mean is it didn't escalate into a Los Angeles-type conflagration, I guess.
Unbelievable. One more thing, Bob. You got to get rid of that song at the beginning of the show today.
Thank you very much for the call. Thank you.
Take care.
The theme song is the least important part of the program. Tom from Passaic, hello.
Good afternoon, Robert. Last night I thought I saw two Ted Koppels. Okay, the pandering one with the hoodlums in the park, and the one who I thought was kind of level-headed at the church meeting.
Uh-huh. Well, why would he have been two Ted Koppels?
I don't know, but, that was my opinion, as the questions he was fielding from the audience, and
I thought his attempt to be one of the boys walking around the neighborhood in the jeans was rather shallow. I agree with that as far as his attempt. More so with the bums in the park, I thought. As opposed to the people in the audience, where some of them, I thought they were kind of sincere in what they said. And I wasn't commenting on the people. I was commenting on Ted Koppel.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tom.
That.
Thank you very much. Hey, Tom from Passaic, followed Tom from Westchester. Now let's have Phil from Teaneck. Hello, Phil.
Hi, Bob. How are you? I know you don't want me to ask that question. I'm really getting tired of people criticizing the system, criticizing the verdict, and calling people racist without any basis. Let me begin by saying that determining whether or not your jury system works doesn't depend upon the verdict you get. Rodney King got due process throughout his experience.
They had to raise taxes was to bail out all the savings and loans. The bill was in the billions and billions.
Why do you blame George Bush, who at that time hadn't been president just a short while?
Well, I only blame him because he promised us he was not going to raise taxes. To read my lip statement, that's what.
In other words.
I mean, I trusted him not to raise taxes, and there he went.
In other words, Mona, I don't believe you, Mona. I tell you why I don't believe you.
Can I finish?
No, I tell you why I don't believe you.
There are a few statements.
No, I tell you why I don't believe you. You are a planted call. You are a planted call. I tell you what I don't like, Mona. The fact that you're being insincere. You had to give me the fake, phony thing that you loved Reagan, that you're a Republican. Not true. Not true, Mona. I would bet anything that you're not a registered Republican. Tom, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob?
Yes.
Yes, I'm calling in regarding your opening.
Okay, wait. Don't move. I keep forgetting the real reason we're all here. The real reason. This portion brought to you by New Jersey Lottery. You see? Hello.
Yeah, Bob?
Yes?
I'm calling to applaud your opening monologue today. It was right to the point, but yet I think it's really for a futile cause because I think the merit system went completely out the window now. I think you hit...
Oh, hi, Bob. A few minutes ago, a lady caller blasted Bush for going along with a Democratic tax rise.
By the way, she was not really... she was not really a Republican.
She was a plant.
Yeah.
Which you spotted. But my point is that when the Democrats blame Bush for going along what they were pushing him into, they're comparable to Slick Willie pressuring Flowers to get into bed with him, and then the next morning calling her a tramp.
Okay.
That's a thought that occurred to me. My original reason for calling was you made the observation that with Baker in the background, the president probably has some aces up his sleeve. And the thought occurred to me that if Slick Willie went to Moscow, which he did, the KGB probably has a file on him, which just might have been informally lent to some members of the president's staff. I'm not saying anybody did anything, but it might happen. And it's also possible that the FBI also might have a file on this thing, which also has a way of becoming disseminated.
Well, I think what we mustn't lose sight of, Mark, is the pathology of Bill Clinton, which is first to outright deny, and then to say, well, yeah, there's a little bit of truth, and then to say, well, yeah, there's more than a little bit of truth, then to say, well, it's half true, then to say it's 3/4 true, then finally to say, yes, it is true, but, for example, we had a good insight and I think it was very illustrative and very frightening. We had a good insight into the type of mind he has and the type of character he lacks when he finally admitted that, yes, he did smoke marijuana. Not that in and of itself, I don't believe should disqualify a guy from becoming president. Let me make that very clear. If he had a marijuana, if he had a joint, if he had a lot of joints when he was 20 years old, I don't think that necessarily should disqualify the guy. But here's the big but. When he was confronted with that, first he said he had never broken any laws in the United States. Then, when he admitted that he did smoke a joint, he said, yeah, it was in England, therefore I didn't break any American laws, and I didn't inhale. I didn't inhale. That's so childish. A little kid, hey, listen, I must tell you, I never smoked a joint in my life. I'm not looking for a halo. I'm not looking for a gold medal. I just never did. But I remember when I was young and started fooling around with regular cigarettes with some of my boyfriends and got caught, I said to my dad the very same thing. I said, yeah, but Dad, I didn't inhale. You know? But I was a kid when I said that. Slick Willie said that just a couple of months ago. So what does that tell you? This is the kind of guy we want to be the President of the United States? We must not let it happen, Mark. And each passing day makes me more convinced that we must not let it happen.
I'd like to make one more quick point, Bob, if I may. A while back, you said that whether you go or stay, you win. Well, speaking for your listeners, if you go, we lose.
I think that's true, and the station would lose too. But I don't like. I'll be euphemistic. I don't like chicken. You know what? And if Julian P. Farquhar is going to get chicken, you know what? Then I may reward him by my departure. Thank you.
You can. All right, Bob.
What did you say? Want to say something else, Kenny?
No. You're
getting me nervous.
You'd be a hard man to replace, and I hope you're with WABC for many years to come.
Well, they hope so too, but they better behave themselves. Okay?
Okay, Bob.
I might fire them. 29 minutes past 6:29, WABC time. Hey, what do you know? Here's Joe Nolan of the Metro Traffic Controls.
You never know.
What do you mean, with Imus this morning?
Yes, sir. I heard all about that.
Yeah, Imus called me a little after 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, wait a minute, I'm surprised you're calling me. I understand you've been trashing me the last couple of days. He said, oh, no, that was before I realized you were number one.
I was surprised that Mark W. allowed that.
Mark W. not only allowed it, he gave the guy my phone number.
Really?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Mark W., and we know what the W stands for, don't we, Joe?
Yes, we do.
May not be as wimpish as he used to be.
He may not. Oh, man.
Maybe he got a transplant.
We have ourselves some delays on the Van Wyck Expressway, and this report is a service of Newsweek and the Phillips Imagination Machine. If you're northbound on the Van Wyck, all lanes have been reopened at Jamaica Avenue. A serious accident has now been cleared. Now, if you're westbound on Route 80, you're jammed for about 3 miles west of Route 23. Split track.
Just as an aside, I want to second what that previous fellow said about, whether you're going to actually leave us at some point in time or not. And I just want to say, what a sorry day that's going to be if you do. I don't know what. No, and you're going to have to put up.
Well,
these
you see,
crazy callers once in a while. But,
no, that isn't it.
But you want to zap them quicker than you do, don't you?
It isn't the crazy callers.
Yeah, what then?
It isn't the crazy callers.
Well, what then? You're making a good living.
I don't like chicken. You know what?
Oh.
I doubt there's an executive that's getting on my nerves. A vice president that's getting on my nerves.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Well, we can't solve that for you.
Yeah.
You'll have to you got all the cards.
Maybe what we'll do is that maybe I'll give his phone number and have you all call him and tell him to stop being such a nervous Norvis. I'll think about it. Listen, Kenny, thank you for the call.
Goodbye.
All right. Ruth, you're on WABC.
I'm another one of those persons think the world of you.
Hello, Bob. Bob, the reason why I'm calling, I am so sick and tired of all these people, including some of the morning hosts on WABC, of constantly bashing President Bush. You see, Bob, I am one of the privileged few to have served with George Bush on board the USS San Jacinto back in 1943-44. And to hear the people that are so against him, so against his, what he does, what he stands for, his war record, it irks me to no end. Example, a statement again was made by one of the talk show hosts this morning, one of the females whom I do not want to listen to because I just get so riled up, who said, and I quote, well, George Bush let his 2 people die in a plane when he bailed out. Bob, I don't know where these people get this information.
Well, listen, I don't mind the fact that this bag lady, this political moron, this left-wing extremist, radical Tompkins Sq Park bum, I don't know why, she's entitled to be for whomever she wishes.
Right.
But to take an incident out of the military and so distort it and lie about it is absolutely, I think it's absolutely unacceptable and shouldn't be tolerated. It is a lie. He didn't let his crew members die. Here's a guy. She can't stand the fact that the man was a certified hero, the youngest pilot in the Naval Air Corps in World War II. He flew 56 combat missions
on board the USS San Jacinto.
He was awarded the distinguished.
Yes, sir.
What was it? Distinguished Flying Cross.
Distinguished Flying Cross, right?
And inadvertently, I said Congressional Medal of Honor about 2 weeks ago, and I'm so sick and tired of getting all this mail saying it was a Distinguished Flying Cross, it was a Distinguished. Yes, I know, it was the Distinguished Flying Cross. But I'll tell you something, and I really don't like to have to say this, but there are some people who really should not be permitted to do shows like this.
Bob, you're so right.
I mean, it's one thing to have strong opinions. It's one thing to be very opinionated and have an ideology that is right out front. It's another thing to be totally irresponsible and not even desirous of alerting anything.
Bob, can I just bring out one more point?
Yes.
What I don't think a lot of people realize, that one of the times that I don't remember was the first time that George was shot down or the second. But he had a bombing mission to do.
Yeah, listen, I tell you what, we've got a lot of ground to cover here, and I don't think we can get involved in...
Okay, Bob.
Okay, thank you.
I thank you, sir.
Nancy, you're on WABC.
Bob, the reason why I'm calling is about the security clearance thing, too.
Okay.
But I was in the Marine Corps back in the 80s, and my job required a top-secret clearance. And I went through a special background investigation that there's no way Bill Clinton could have passed. They go into, do you have any dependency on drugs? Do you have any problems in your family? Something that might compromise your position. Where have you been in the past? Have you been to Cuba? Do you have relationships with people in Moscow? There's no way that Clinton could pass a background investigation in the military if he ever went in. But had he gone in, which we all know he didn't, there's no way he could have risen in the officer ranks or the enlisted ranks, because when you get to a certain level, you have to pass a security background. The National Security Agency runs it. Takes about 6 to 9 months, and they come to your neighborhood. They go to ask the neighborhood about you. They go to your college. They go to your high school. They talk to old teachers, and they say, who did he hang out with? Did he have any problems with his monetary situation? Was he, did he have
Yes, I'm well aware of what you're saying, and that is a great irony. And someone said to me earlier today, and I won't reveal that person's name because I don't want to embarrass him. He said, you know, when Bob Dornan started talking about this, I thought he was making it up. I said, making it up? I said, you can't stand up in the of the House and make up something. He was making allegations, very serious allegations, about what Slick Willie was doing. And, of course, at first a lot of people really didn't pay any attention because the press didn't want to give Bob Dornan any publicity. But now here he is trying to explain that he says he was in London and there was a demonstration going on, and he was curious and he stopped to watch it. Does that sound reasonable?
No, Bob, it doesn't.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, vote Bush.
Topsy, an AT&T cordless phone for...
It was described in the Post a couple of weeks ago. We pay our taxes, we pay our mortgage, and we pay our parking tickets. And we're most visible. And this is more a plea for guidance than anything else. I'm ready to do that ostrich theory of burying my head in the sand because I've heard your comments about both Clinton and Bush, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And when I was going to school in the 60s, or maybe in the 50s, Ayn Rand wrote a book about Atlas Shrugged. I don't know if you're familiar with the book.
Well, that was the title of the book, Atlas Shrugged.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she wrote about all the media being corrupt and the politicians being corrupt. And this group of clear-thinking people ran away to this remote area and waited until everybody ate everybody else up and then came back. And I think there's a lot of people like me that really are quiet, don't say much, and as I said, go about their business. And
yeah. So what is your conclusion, Barbara?
My question is, where do we go for guidance? Because there is such diversion in all the media, etc.
Well, what do you mean by guidance?
Well, I mean that I've always been a Republican.
No, but what do you mean by guidance?
Well, the guidance I mean is that I believe in Bush.
What do you mean by guidance?
Guidance.
Why can't I get an answer from you? What do you mean by guidance?
That's the problem. I don't know because I'm at a quandary right now.
Well, in what way are you in a quandary? What is it you want? What would you like to sort out?
Again, as I said, I've been a Republican.
Don't speak in the abstract. Ask me specifically what it is you'd like sorted out. Maybe I can help you.
I can't understand, and because I'm a Republican.
Oh, dear me, we're going to fool around with labels. Will you tell me what your problem is, damn it? What is it?
The problem is that I can't understand why there's so many people that are Clinton followers, and I can't understand why that there is. I mean, it's very clear that Bush should be the next president.
All right, I'll try to answer your question. Traditionally, as a matter of fact, probably without exception, whenever there is a consumer confidence gap, the incumbent president suffers the consequences.
Yes.
No matter what else, when there is a consumer lack of confidence, when it goes below 100% on the scale, the administration in power suffers defeat. That is traditional. That has nothing to do with party label, all right?
Right.
That is the case right now. However, he's not running against somebody who is decent and honorable and trustworthy like Paul Tsongas.
Correct.
And I guarantee you if he were running against Paul Tsongas, we indeed could call the election over.
Yes.
But he's running against a very flawed individual who would be worse than what we have.
Absolutely.
All right. So just because the polls show that most people are still saying they're going to vote for Clinton is no reason for you to lose faith in your own beliefs. You want your own outlook, your own opinion, to be verified, to be validated by other people, and it doesn't always work out that way. The only thing I can tell you is I really believe, Barbara, that come Election Day, enough people will get in the voting booth and realize that Bill Clinton is a dangerous alternative, and we're better off keeping what we have. Thank you. Well, that slams the lid on things for today. All 4 segments, all 4 rounds have been approved for the Radio Hall of Fame Museum. Thank you. Until tomorrow, Bob Grant reminding you, your influence counts. Use it. It's 7 o'clock. Rosemary and I got to get out of here.
From ABC News, I'm Doug Limerick. A couple of major pieces of legislation passed by the Senate today as its members get ready to go home. There's the Urban Aid Bill aimed at helping give new life to the inner cities. That bill also contains some tax hikes on corporations and some retirees. That's why the president may veto it. It's also the energy bill, which was sent to the president. Here's ABC's Nancy Ambrose.
Labeled the most comprehensive energy bill ever proposed, it would promote conservation and encourage the use of alternative energy sources. New efficiency standards would be put in place for lights, shower heads, and electric motors. And it would be easier to build nuclear power plants. Nevada's 2 senators had stalled action on the bill, arguing it would lead to weaker radiation exposure standards at a nuclear waste site in their state. Despite their protest, the bill passed, and the president has said he will sign it. Nancy Ambrose, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
More news after this.
Delta Burke stars as Delta.
This morning I was in shopping stage, filled out a credit application, and it asked my age, and I wrote 33. Scared me a little bit. Then it said sex, and I thought, yeah, but there's a lot of anger involved. Next thing I knew, I was ripping up the application and shoving a very small bald man out of my way.
Catch the new ABC comedy Delta tonight at 8, 7 Central.
Hello.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
What's on your mind? And she said she'd tune in for the first time yesterday and swears she's hooked. Earl, you're at WABC. By the way, if you're calling from New Jersey, Abigail Parge informs us, please advise your listeners if they want to call 201-489-WABC. And that's approved by Chuck Hatayan, Speaker of the Assembly in the state of New Jersey. Earl, hello.
Hi, Bob. Bob?
Hello, Earl.
Hi, Bob. You had 2 callers on before, and I think the point they were trying to make is that we're never hearing anything why we should vote for George Bush. All of the Clinton bashing seems to be detracting from why we should vote for George Bush. Now, I'd like to know what is his record to vote for him. What has he done?
Well, where have you been? I mean, have you been on Mars that suddenly you come in and you have no knowledge of what's been going on?
What has been going on?
Let me say this,
done for the country?
Earl, let me say this to you.
Tell me.
You are obviously a Clinton supporter.
That's right.
Okay. So therefore, for me to engage you in any discussion of this type is meaningless, useless, and absolutely ludicrous.
Well,
and I don't intend to waste my time with a scumbag like you who opens the conversation by asking that question. Instead of identifying yourself as a Clinton supporter and telling us why you're a Clinton supporter, you play this very sleazy, childish game. I despise that. Hello, John. You're on WABC.
I despise that, too. Hey, I'm angry. I called you about 2 weeks ago, and I did. I finally got the putting people first propaganda Clinton is putting out. Really, I mean, this thing should have a warning like...
Victor, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob. I won't ask you how you are. I'm a Clinton sleazebag. I'm one of those liberals that will identify myself when I call. Your producer, incidentally, says, we're not hearing much from you guys. Well, it's difficult to get through the conservative point of view, which seems to be muzzled most of the time. The liberal view seems to be muzzled most of the time. I share 2 callers ago the same questions. Why should I vote for a man who will be in a position to control the Supreme Court even more radically than he has over the last 12 years?
Well, see, what you consider a radical,
right?
A radical move,
right?
I consider a move towards sanity.
Well, actually, Bob, I consider a balanced court is something that I would be opting for. And right now we have a court that is not...
Wait a minute, what is a balanced court? Give me your definition of a balanced court.
A balanced court is a court that is willing to accept more than one position on how to interpret the Constitution.
You don't know what you're talking about, because when a Supreme Court decision comes down, the reason there are 9 members and not 8 or 10 is so that it won't be so balanced that we have a split decision. We need decisions from the Supreme Court.
Well, the thing that bothers me is that with the age of well, forget that. That's only one issue. Okay, I don't want to get hung up on
Well,
that.
you're the one who brought up a balanced court.
All right, let me go back. The issue, as Dole has just stated today, going against his president, is saying the issue is the economy. And that is something that Bush is not engaging in right now. If people are asked, if the electorate is asked, are they better off today than they were 4 years ago? I would venture to say that most people, the majority of the electorate in this country, would say no, they are not.
Who'd you vote for in 1980?
In 1980, refresh my memory, I'm in traffic.
Who'd you vote for in 1980? Ronald Reagan ran against Jimmy Carter. Who'd you vote for?
I voted for Carter.
Of course you did. Even though Ronald Reagan asked the question, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And the American people overwhelmingly said they weren't. And you proved that you are an absolute hypocrite, because you say that that's the question to ask, and yet when it was asked in 1980, you stuck with the incumbent. But you don't stick with the incumbent today because you are a self-confessed, hopeless liberal. He may not be a sleazebag, but he's a liberal. Which doesn't make him a bad guy, just stupid. Steve, hello.
Good afternoon, sir. I want to tell you that I just got my insurance bill, and it went from $85 a month to $132 a month. When I called up my insurance company, Mutual of Omaha, they said it...
Tony, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Bob. Tony from Brooklyn. Have a nice time over this weekend. Bob, you know, I resent this onslaught against Christopher Columbus by these jealous subhumans as epitomized by one Betty Lou Ebron in today's Daily News, page 4. What a vile, disgraceful piece she wrote, calling Columbus scum, weedy, and God knows what. You know, Bob, this piece of almost human garbage, who has the dingbat mentality of a flea, should kiss Columbus's ass in Macy's window for giving the likes of her the opportunity to live in this great country, rather than the jungle she came from, rather than the filth she came from, rather than the garbage people she left behind when she came to this wonderful country built by the white people. God bless Columbus and the brilliant Italian people he came from. People, Bob, who are bathing in marble bathtubs while the likes of this Betty Ebron were hanging from trees by their filthy tails. The Italians are a race of people who spread commerce to all parts of the world, to Carthage, the Orient, Persia, while the Ebron mixed breeds were following the vultures for scraps of leftover meat. The Italians who invented culture, the Italians who produced Columbus, as well as Garibaldi and Mazzini and Cavour and Giovanni Caputo, better known as John Cabot, and hundreds of others, need no apology for Columbus, but instead deserve accolades and praise from the likes of filth, like this Ebron, that we white people have allowed in our country. And I say to the people out there, Italian and non-Italian, that if you see a bank or a store that celebrate this so-called Discover Day in place of Columbus Day, close your accounts out and don't patronize that store. It's Columbus Day, the greatest hero that ever lived, because he discovered a new world. What if 100 others were in America 1,000 years ago, but no one knew about it? What if the polio vaccine, Bob, were actually discovered 200 years ago, but no one knew about it? would we not honor Salk as the legitimate discoverer of the polio vaccine? Of course we would. And finally, Bob, let us remember that Italy is la culla della civiltà, the cradle of civilization. Have a good weekend, Bob, mate.
That's Tony in Brooklyn, and although Tony sometimes is very equivocating, I think that you can determine. I'm being facetious. He's anything but equivocating. You always know where Tony stands. Speaking of the discovery of America, the advertising world is finding out that Columbus' voyage is a hard sell after 500 years. This time, Columbus really seems to have fallen off the edge of the earth, they say. There were expectations a year or so ago that hoopla over the 500th anniversary of his arrival in the New World would be so widespread as to be inescapable. Instead, as America heads into this Columbus Day weekend, you're on WABC.
Hello, Bob. I'm a first-time caller, and I'm so happy I reached you today because I wanted to get to you before Columbus Day. I thought you'd like to know what the liberal Democrats teaching our children in public schools are doing. I'm a teacher assistant, and today we celebrated Columbus Day.
I really don't believe you. I despise life.
What time is the
Jerry,
parade?
you're on WABC. Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah, someone called about 2 days ago to mention something about those fellas in Times Square area, that they were Jewish and black, and all kinds of epithets coming from them. And I wanted to mention that, as you did, that they are the furthest thing from Jewish faith, and they are, at the very least, uncivilized. And I spoke with a policeman whose beat that is, and they did a clever thing, the NYPD, and I wanted to share with you. They, the way they used to cordon off a corner of 44th and Broadway, it used to stem the pedestrian traffic so that people would have to involuntarily coagulate in that area and listen to it and be subjected to the haranguing nature of it. But and they had a loudspeaker. But they changed it. They said, if you want to use a loudspeaker, you got to go in the middle of the island, and if you don't want a loudspeaker, you could do it on that corner. So they opt for the loudspeaker, and guess what? When they're out on that island in the middle of Times Square, they're drowned out by the traffic, happily so, and no one pays any attention to them. No one goes there. So it was a real measure of their effect. And I just take the task, though, this fellow who called a couple...
All right, I appreciate that, Jerry. Unfortunately, we've just been grabbed
for a commercial
by the clock.
Hey, I got it. I'm glad to get through. And he shouldn't have said it's a mob, though. It's by no means a mob. It's 20 people.
All right, as far as I'm concerned, ladies and gentlemen, that slams the lid on things for today. Not for the Bob Grant program. John Minnelli coming in, and it will be Call Up the Boss right here on WABC. The round 4. By the way, rounds 1, 2, and 3 have been accepted by the Radio Hall of Fame Museum. Stay tuned for John. At dinner tonight, if someone were to ask about, what should I say, Jerry?
Well, I think you should say, Bob, that you're smart enough to know what I was talking about.
No, I tell you this, Jerry. I'm too smart to put up with an idiot like you with all this double talk. I don't like double talk. Get off my phone if that's where you want to be. What, do we have to interpret hieroglyphics around here now? He speaks in parables. We are to interpret him. Van Gool. Hey, Bernie, you're on WABC. Hello.
Bob, I want to tell you about a precious piece of tape that's in your possession. From the Jay Diamond program, Norman Rosenbaum, who is the brother of slain Yankel Rosenbaum in Crown Heights, was asked by Jay, how were you helped by anybody? And he said, yes, that he received help from government officials. But there was one man who practically came bursting through his door 1 hour after the incident. And that man was Alphonse D'Amato. So I think the Jewish community of New York should know that although he did get in touch with Robert Abrams, Alphonse D'Amato was the one who really expressed concern. I think that piece of tape would be good for Mr. D'Amato to have, Senator D'Amato to have. Also, in the D'Amato campaign, now we have the Reverend Sharpton has said that he will support Abrams. Now, this should prove embarrassing for Mr. Abrams because Sharpton says that the legitimate successor to Martin Luther King Jr. is Louis Farrakhan. That's his position. This will now be part of the Abrams team. And I think that the contradiction there, without Abrams repudiating this man, leaves him in a very peculiar position with respect to the Jewish community of New York. And one further point, you're talking against affirmative action, and there is a crisis in this country as a result. I mean, I would estimate, on the basis of Frederick Lynch's book, Invisible Victims, White Males and the Crisis of Affirmative Action, which was written about 2 years or 3 years ago, that the white people in this country have been told by bureaucrats to take their natural-born talents, to take their hard work, to take their achievement, and to shove it. And they are bitter about it. But I also want to say that in this country, when you ask people, are you in favor of this? The women are against affirmative action. They believe in ability. The blacks are against affirmative action. They believe in ability, and particularly the males. So I think that there may be light at the end of the tunnel. I don't see where either, but I can tell you that the overwhelming majority of the American people are against affirmative action. That's all I wanted to say.
Well, let's get back to what you said about the hair straightener King and that putrescence Robert Abrams.
Yes.
What does this say about both of them? What it says is that both of them are absolute whores, absolute, complete whores, cynical. They have no self-respect. And what makes me really upset is not that they are the low-life scum that they are, but that the people haven't learned yet how to deal with this cynicism. So anybody who says, Sharpton, they talk about party unity. What were they saying before? What they said before meant nothing. And not only that, it seems to me that a person, first and foremost, if it's a male, should be a man. Then, secondly, he should be an attorney general or senator or what have you. But Bob Abrams isn't even a man, because if he were, he wouldn't have tolerated Sharpton saying all those things about him, saying that he was looking at pictures of Tawana Brawley and masturbating while he was doing that, saying that he was a Nazi. You're aware of all that stuff.
Even better. Abrams said, my friend Al Sharpton, at least Sharpton, had the guts to say to him, I'm not your friend.
Yeah. Well, that just proves that it would be an insult if Bobby Abrams becomes the United States Senator.
Well,
Absolute insult.
You can enjoy his embarrassment.
All right, thank you for the call.
Hello.
Are you there? Henry, are you there? Henry Aldridge. Not there. All right. No, that was not Henry Vidiello either. Ivan, you're on WABC. Hello.
Yeah, hi, Bob. You talk about Bill Clinton not coming clean. But why did you change your name, and how come you're ashamed of being an Italian-American?
If I were ashamed of being an Italian-American, I never would have said anything about it years and years and years ago when nobody knew me from a bale of hay when I came to New York.
But really, I mean, why not your real name?
Wait a minute. There are a lot of people who have taken professional names in this business and used them. Why do people pick on me? I'm the only guy they pick on.
Because you support George Bush, who's destroying this country.
Oh, cut it out, you creep, you jerk, you sick jerk. I'd love to meet that guy and punch his dumb nose down his dumb throat. Jerry, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hi. You're talking about heroes, and Anita Hill is one of my non-heroes. And when I thought of her, I have a question. And I don't know if I'm naive. Do the presidential candidates ever have to be subjected to the type of scrutiny that Judge Thomas went through?
Yeah, they are. And they are now, and it should be. See, I'm not one of these people who feels that they have a private life and they have a public life. I believe that if they want public office on any level, president, Congress, governor, then we have a right to demand to know everything about them.
Mm-hmm. Well, would it be naive to expect that if this ever, the question of Clinton going to Moscow ever became just a matter of people's opinions, could it be brought before a board as just Judge Thomas was?
Well, before a board, well, Judge Thomas had to be confirmed by the Senate Judiciary Committee and then by the full Senate.
Uh-huh.
So what are you talking about by a board?
A similar question and answer where he has to say why he was there.
Well, I hope the president or somebody asks him that. We're going to have 4 debates in 9 days.
I certainly hope so.
I hope. And by the way, let me compliment, since you brought it up, Jerry, let me compliment Deborah Orrin. Deborah Orrin, the Washington bureau chief for the New York Post. She has a splendid article today in which there are no ifs, ands, or buts about Slick Willie Clinton. He was there, and his own letter condemns him because in the December 3rd, 1969 letter, thanking an ROTC official for, quote, now these are Bill Clinton's words, not mine, thank you for saving me from the draft. Now, notice those words. Thank you for saving me from the draft. And yet he said it was a fluke. Then he goes on to say, or Deborah Orrin goes on to say, that the letter also talks about his being involved in anti-Vietnam protests. Why didn't he just admit that in the first place, for heaven's sake? That's the point. Why didn't he?
That's what I want to see. I want to see it where everybody else can see it, and I want to see him answer that question. That's what I want to know.
Now, there's no doubt. Listen. Maybe we're coming full circle, and thank God if we are. I'll tell you why I say that, Jerry. People have such short memories. And Democrats are very good at unifying once the battle is over. Unlike Republicans, the California Republican Party does not exist in the state of California anymore. It is absolutely split to smithereens because these people are for real. They don't, when they say something, they obviously truly mean it, and they don't get back together. Democrats, it doesn't make any difference what they say. In the general election, they unify. Can't the people see that? Okay.
Thank you.
Now, wait a minute. In the primary, Paul Tsongas, Jerry Brown, Tom Harkin, Bob.
Yes, Bob.
Frank of Queens. Ladies and gentlemen, let's all stand for Frank of Queens.
Bob, let us all stand on Monday to commemorate the 500th anniversary of the greatest single feat of achievement in the history of humanity. An achievement brought about by a man of daring, of courage, of vision, of greatness. A man who truly made the world an interdependent place. The greatest explorer in history, the great Italian Christopher Columbus. We'll all be out there commemorating this great feat. But rather, Bob, than being something to bring us together, it will be used for an excuse for divisiveness. Being used by the losers, the has-beens, the never-weres, the never-will-be's, the two-legged bags of politically correct human garbage will be out there denigrating and debasing this great hero. And in that breath, they will be denigrating and debasing defacing our heritage. Our mayor, that little fraud, will be out there, and he'll probably talk about his ancestors coming in the hull of a slave ship. Well, for him, he's doing pretty good thanks to Christopher Columbus's great feat of discovering America. And despite what the politically correct revisionists are going to say Monday, he was here first before anyone else. He discovered it because no one else knew about it. But the thing that bothers me, Bob, about the Columbus Day celebration is that it's not a national holiday. Here is a man whose impact, after 500 years, is not fully appreciated, is still being debated, a man whose achievement ranks as the greatest in history, and he doesn't have a national holiday. Now, if we can't judge his greatness in 500 years for a national holiday, how do they give Martin King a holiday after less than 20 years? The absurdity and hypocrisy is quite evident. Christopher Columbus was the great Italian hero. And we should remember, Bob, on Monday, that it was the Italian people who gave the world the Renaissance, who gave the world our Constitution. Bob, come Monday, remember, the Italian people discovered America, they named America, and they built America. Thank you.
All right, that's Vintage Frank of Queens, checking in on the line on WABC. Monday is, that's true, it is not a national holiday, and most calendars designate it as Discovery Day. Peggy, you're on WABC. Hello.
Good afternoon, Mr. Granton. How are you?
What's on your mind, Peggy?
Well, I want to talk about Slick Willie like everybody else.
Okay.
When is the silent majority in this country going to speak out? When are the 2 million Vietnam veterans in this country going to speak out against him? He said this afternoon that we should put Vietnam behind us. I think that somebody somewhere should really turn up what the hell he's trying to hide. He was in Moscow in 1970. He was also